All right, so we are going to talk about why your body's response to a pinched nerve may matter more than the pinched nerve itself. Um, so I want to start with a question. What if the biggest obstacle to your recovery isn't that irritated nerve? What if it's your body and the way your body has reacted to that original irritation? So most people think a pinched nerve works like a kink in a garden hose. Pressure goes on, it hurts, take the pressure away, problem solved. But that's not how living tissue works. And if you've suffered nerve pain, you know this. You'd think that when it got irritated is when you'd feel it. But often nerves show what's called latent pain, and nerves also show what's called referred pain, and can create puzzles that seem incredibly difficult to solve. So I'm going to help you understand this more clearly and hopefully help you, if you're dealing with this, help you get on your road to recovery. So one of the things I think is really important is that your body is much smarter than you've been taught. Nerves are living tissue, and it's normally a nerve is normally quite durable and resilient, and that's all good until it gets irritated. When it's irritated, it doesn't always calm down the moment the pressure or irritation goes away. Sometimes that irritation lingers. And so to understand that better, I think understanding how physics affect the physiology of a nerve is important. So when a nerve gets irritated, nerves are the tissue in the body that, in a sense, manage inflammation. They actually release a substance called substance P, and that's like the beacon for the inflammatory process to move all the right stuff into place to help get rid of irritation and and trigger the healing process. So to get all that stuff there, though, there needs to be some fluid migration, and that creates swelling. And so nerves are like tubes, and within the tubes are all these really important structures. And the way nerves are constructed, they can compress pretty easily. They can twist, they can bend, they can stretch, and they slide within the container that they're located in at a given time. So now, if you take this structure and you create some swelling, the movement, all of those things are going to be affected. It's not going to compress as easily. It's not going to stretch. It's not going to slide. And this substance P that triggers inflammation within the nerve can actually then scatter it to other tissues. And so now the tissues around it, its container, the tissues around the nerve can become inflamed and irritated. And then they can interact with the nerve, causing more irritation. So it's like a self-repeating cycle that can get set up. But that's just one layer. So your brain is reading all this. And when your brain senses a threat within your body, it does two things very reliably. It's going to create some protective tension, and it's going to create protective weakness. And that's going to be local, but it is systemic. And what happens locally, though, for instance, if we're talking about a cervical issue and a pinched nerve, the spine itself has little muscles. I call them scaffolding muscles. And pretty much every joint in your body has some scaffolding muscles. What they do is they prepare the joint for the movement that the big mover muscles will ask from that joint structure. And so if the scaffolding muscles and the mover muscles are working in harmony, if they are integrated in their function, we have good, healthy, fluid movement. But with this protective tension and weakness, they become disintegrated. And so that changes how everything moves. And unfortunately, when the pain is gone, when the threat is resolved, that function still needs to be rebuilt. So that's another layer. Now, head to toe, I mentioned there are reactions that occur. And we have the way our muscles work is they're recruited as systems, not one muscle at a time, but a group or a series of muscles in sequence and in harmony. And so this results in patterns of muscle recruitment. And there is sort of one pattern that rules them all. It's called the cross-crawling pattern or sometimes the stride pattern. And you can just think of a baby crawling or any person walking. The way their muscles are recruiting, this, in a sense, describes this pattern I'm talking about. So the brain reading for pain or threat changes those patterns. And that pattern, there's a number of dysfunctions that can result. But again, once that threat or that irritation is gone, that global pattern needs to be reset. Another layer, right? So I'm mentioning that your brain is reading all this, and your brain is this incredible structure that does so much in the body. Excuse me. And one of the things it does is it's scanning. There's too much information coming in for your brain to respond to all of it. So it filters. And the primary thing it filters for is threat. Okay. And so when the brain filters and perceives threat, it starts changing how everything in your body functions, how everything responds. And if it's ongoing, if this pain or this stress has no source of resolve, we call that trauma. Okay. In trauma, the brain has a pretty reliable reaction to trauma, especially how it affects movement. So your brain essentially has this downstairs and upstairs function, but there's also a right side and left side. They're like two brains, but when they're communicating well, when they're integrated, things go well. But as I mentioned, if threat is perceived, there's an area of the brain, there's more than one, but we'll just talk about the amygdala. So if we're continuing to read threat, the amygdala is getting stimulated more. It actually gets bigger, it gets more active, it gets more dense. And this change in the function of the amygdala actually changes the upstairs downstairs function, and it changes the right to left function. So again, we go from this integrated, functioning structure to one that's become disintegrated. And guess what? That doesn't just go away when the pain goes away. And so it's something we have to do. We have to address in the process of recovery. Now, I'm not giving all this to overwhelm you. I'm giving this so you can understand that a simple irritation to a nerve can literally change everything. And this is where most people get stuck. They spend years trying to figure out everything. And so what I do is I focus on what's the pattern, the pain pattern, getting to its source based on its symptoms, imaging, whatever. And that's a different approach. And I'll say over the last, several decades, I've invested well over $100,000. And it's not, this isn't like a humble brag. It's like to give you the perspective that I've been searching for the answer to a question for myself and for my clients. And I'm sure this is interesting to you as well. Why is it that some people fully recover and others just spend years and years chasing treatments? And so that search has led me through, obviously, you probably picked up on neuroscience, principles of rehabilitation and recovery, human movement science, functional neurology, human performance science, neurodynamics, thousands of client conversations, thousands of hours working with mentors who, are at the top of their field, such giving people, thousands of hours working through processes, seeking essentially truth. And one thing really becomes impossible for me to ignore. Recovery isn't about one tissue or one image or one shot or, it's about restoring the way the whole system works together. And that's why every recovery recovery follows principles. Principles don't change. And so there are very reliable and predictable things that happen with these traumas. And so there can be very predictable, reliable ways to walk our way out of it. And so in the simplest terms, this is a path that I've discovered. So first and foremost, you need to calm the irritation or perceived threat to your body's systems. Then rebuilding that healthy integrated function around the local compromised structures. And again, there's very well-researched, reliable ways to do both of these. Next, we need to look at the head to toe, global, healthy communication, brain to body to brain. And then within the brain itself, right, this right to left, upstairs, downstairs integration. And once we have those things established, we have a body that's very receptive, very adaptable. And so then we can really go full steam ahead to focus on improving the pattern or patterns of movement you need most to live healthy, confident, and free at the level that you choose. So that process is actually quite simple, but it does take knowing what to do and when to do it. And I do want to be clear. I'm not trying to convince you that my way is the only way. There's an old quote, there are many ways to the top of the mountain. So I'm more interested in helping you understand your body well enough to make better decisions, because I believe that, and I've observed that once you can understand these things, that fear starts to fade, that confusion starts to fade, your system starts to soothe, and recovery can actually start to make sense. Again, your body is smarter and more capable than you've probably ever been taught. And if any of this resonates with you, hey, we're here. I'd love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. My goal, I'll help you understand your body better so you can make more confident decisions about your recovery. And of course, if there's someone you know struggling with these things, feel free to share this video or my channel with them. I love helping people. I love to see more people realize that, a diagnosis is not destiny. Your body is always communicating. And my job is to try and help you understand what it's trying to tell you. As always, though, if you're feeling stuck right now, I do offer coaching. I do work with people one-on-one. So feel invited to comment and support, or you can just message me directly.